Hi everyone, and welcome to our third episode of Beyond iGaming. And today I'm with my good friend Dmitry Belianin, the guy who has been motivating many folks in our industry, entrepreneur, businessman, mentor, a role model you can look at and see how to create companies and run multiple successful projects at the same time. We are in Cascais. With the first question, how did you choose this city? How did you end up in here? And tell us a bit, about the background.
First of all, thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure. I think your show is really inspiring for many people because not many people see what's actually, outside of professional side of things. We were never been planning to come to Cascais as a specific point, but Portugal was on our map. And then what happened is a good friend of mine, a co-founder of Traffic Squad, Vladimir Sakharov, he lives nearby. And he has a thing which is called Cascais tour. So when I came here, it was a great set of very well planned and very well executed things from him, like, going to his home, going to a set of restaurants here. And I converted. It was that easy, right? Nice. So I don't know how many people he actually brought in here. I call him sometimes a mayor of Cascais. Maybe he will be mayor one day, but he really brought like a lot of great folks in here.
Before that, where you used to live?
So yeah, it was Belarus, then it was Ukraine, Dubai for like 6 months, then it was Cyprus. 2023 we moved here. So yeah, actually next month is going to be 2 years of us living in Portugal.
What about your long-term plans?
It's the first time probably since 2014 when we were like, okay, we found a great place where we want to maybe stay for like 5 years plus. There is a way to get like a Portuguese passport quite easily here as well. So definitely staying here for maybe like 3 or 4 years. But then, I don't mind maybe even going somewhere. But here, like if you get like a checklist of 100 items, probably 98 or 99 will be like green.
From your recent podcasts, I have learned that you read a lot and you try to read 2 books each month. Speaking of my goals, it was like more ambitious for 4 books a month. But it's too much and you are not really digesting the book as if you could, right? What kind of books do you read? Fiction, non-fiction? When do you find time?
So that's a great question because honestly, I think in the last probably 2 months I suffered a lot and I now need to speed up things to try to read more to get to the same target of these like 2 books per month. But if I don't like the book immediately, I throw it away, right? Not like physically, but I just put it on the side and maybe, I get back to it one day when I'm in the mood for that book. Because if you don't enjoy it, if you're not finding it valuable for this particular moment of time, it's better not do it. In some of my companies here, it's like a builder stage where you really need to get your hands dirty, you need to work a lot, sleepless nights, a lot of work and stuff like that. So you need to find a book which is very relevant. One of the books I was reading right now is a book called Start Problem by Andrew Chen, one of my favorite books. I'm reading it twice now, second time. This is a perfect time for me just to figure out, very interesting concepts for some of the businesses we're building right now. So this is thing number 1. Thing number 2 is just to allocate. Usually I block even a time in my calendar when I read books. Usually it's 1 hour before I go to sleep. So I shut down all the devices and I read for like 1 hour. I have my marker with me, so I always like highlight stuff. I go back and reread stuff. And that's it. So stay consistent, find an appropriate book for the moment of time right now and just stick to it.
It's ebooks or you like the physical books mostly?
So I'm a big fan of physical books, but I think I'm stopping right now. I have a very big library at home, probably like 200 books, like physical books.
Nice.
But now it's a problem when you travel.
Belarus or?
No, here.
Here,
yeah. And actually I brought a lot from Ukraine. The problem is like you need to carry all these books with you. So I travel a lot. Let's say I was in like Dubai, then I needed to go to Italy, then Barcelona. And then if you need to read 2 books, you need to carry 2 physical books.
So most of the books are non-fiction or you also read fiction as well?
No, it's only like self-development, professional things, like some business, like life hacks and stuff like that. So like honestly, something which is very appropriate for the moment of time where I'm at right now and something which I can immediately implement and use for either myself or the business. Like one of the things which I read last year which like gave me like a lot of insights on my personal health, was like a gut health, right? What kind of things are making you, think sharper, act faster, sleep better, so things like this. I'm on the path to become like a relentless human being.
Yeah.
I need to read about it, not about, how to launch like, a spaceship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you read for the content, or like sometimes you can like go throughout the book, someone is explaining their route or their experience of creating a business?
Yep.
Like, do you read it and self-reflect and try to reflect it on your own journeys, and this gives you like motivation to think, or you read to gain, just like new information?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's both, because sometimes, reading about someone's past is actually super inspiring, like as you mentioned, but then you can figure out some little tweaks which you might be applying on you.
Yeah.
So for example, one of the books which I recently finished was called exactly how to build $1 billion business, because that's what we're doing right now. Like we want to build like $1 billion company. So then you understand, okay, maybe, like 90% of the billionaires, they became billionaires at like 45, 50 years old. I'm only 36. Maybe I should not be pushing too much myself and should not be, that crazy guy in the office screaming, we're not moving fast enough, and actually this is me right now. But you kind of understanding, okay, so maybe I should the deadlines in a different manner. Maybe I should kind of reevaluate the goals of the business and the progress. So I think, reading about someone's life and progress is very inspiring, but you can also kind of put it down to pieces and understand how to like apply it on yourself.
Yeah. But aren't you scared that at some point when building this $1 billion company, you have to change yourself in a way that you wouldn't like, to live the life, but that's the only way to achieve this goal?
Yeah. Sometimes you understand that maybe this should not be your target, because this will lead to you changing your life completely, not being able to see your friends, not being able to walk in public like this, not being able to like, think about something openly and freely express yourself, right? This might lead to a lot of things. Elon Musk, for example, the guy is like crazy as hell. He just, goes on x.com and just, posts memes with cats and all that stuff. So one really cool thing about him, he plays Diablo 4. I'm a big fan of Diablo as well. By looking at him, he's got life for sure. He works a lot, for sure. CEO of like, some of the most influential companies, and he's building these businesses.
You don't have to sacrifice a lot of things in order to achieve the goal, but there is a way to combine, since like this person can combine it himself, being a leader of one of like most famous companies in the world.
Yeah, probably it's both, and you need to find like a combination of both, and you really need to find the combination of what's going to work for you personally. Because if he's a nerd, right, and he's just sitting at home, then you're not sacrificing anything. You're just still a nerd. It's like, building stuff and, living your life in a way. I'm a nerd myself. I don't like go out. I'm not a social human being as well. So when there is a conference and, I need to have like 12 meetings per day, I'm actually suffering and I'm struggling like mentally and physically. So I'd rather work with my laptop for hours and I will never feel exhausted afterwards.
When you wake up in the morning, what's your routine? Like you just sit next to your laptop next, or you have some ways of, getting ready to start?
The peak of my morning productivity I had back in Cyprus in like 2023, I think. I was waking up with the sunlight, which in Cyprus is happening quite early, I think like 6 a.m. So waking up early with the sunlight, not looking at your devices, going out, like basking in the sunlight, walking barefoot, touching the nature. It's actually giving you a great kind of recharge
before
impulse.
starting to work.
Yes, exactly. So then something which I added just recently, drinking, like before I eat any food, drinking like electrolytes, like electrolyte drink, because when you wake up, your body is like dehydrated. I used to use like a Himalayan salt before. Now I'm using, some like a set of electrolytes, which is, more healthy because you get like a lot of elements in just like one scoop. Probably like 1 hour, just like, focusing on myself, letting my body to recharge, wake up, exactly. So when it comes to the day overall, it's actually sometimes quite painful because, I might sit at 8 a.m. and then I might just sit until, I don't know, like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Just with, barely standing up. If I can stick some paddle inside of my day, this is going to be a big win, because if not, then I'm just going to sit for like 12 hours.
No, my God, Do you have a must physical activity in your routine, or like however it happens throughout the day?
I don't go to gym, and honestly, I think I should, because I'm wearing this little thing, right? So it's saying you need to lift weights, you need to move more, you need to walk more.
Yeah.
My must is like playing paddle at least 3 times a week. So I have 2 training sessions and then 1 tournament at least.
Yeah.
If I'm lucky enough, then I will have probably 2 tournaments during the weekend and then 2 training sessions throughout the week.
So you started working from 17 years old, you mentioned, and you mentioned also that you were playing poker at that age.
Yes, I started with this like free $50 from PokerStars. I didn't have a card back then. I borrowed my grandma's passport, so it was easy. Like no face verification, no KYC and stuff like that. So it was super easy.
Yeah.
Now it's impossible, right?
Exactly.
If young audiences listen to us, don't do it. Don't even try, because they will block immediately. Full Tilt was probably the number 1. I think it's still like the greatest in my book. Party Poker was, I think, probably the 2nd. And PokerStars, the number 3, obviously.
Maybe, and then it was Poker Dome at some point in CIS countries.
I actually stopped playing just before that. So I never got a chance to play there. So I think the biggest amount of time I probably spent with PokerStars. I had this like platinum status, which was the highest there. I was playing a lot, like really grinding 24 tables for like 10 hours straight.
Wow. But you keep playing now as well, right? I mean, recently you won a tournament.
That was a funny start of my streaming career, because I just randomly decided to go and start streaming and play a poker tournament online, and I won, so it was fun. But before that, I went to EPT in Barcelona and I got raped. So I played only like 2 hands.
Offline, right?
Yeah, offline. Honestly, I don't remember when the last time when I finished the session and I left with me being like negative balance. But this time I think I lost like in 2 or 3 hands, and then I was like so triggered that I was like, okay, I need to follow the rules. My plan was to come if I lose this like 2-3K, then just immediately leave. And even though I played for like 10 minutes, I still left. So that's stick to a plan.
Do you feel the difference from online and offline? Like maybe somewhere you perform better?
Yeah, I mean, offline is super easy, to be honest. Especially, it's you go there, especially here, like in Portugal, you got this like Estoril casino. A lot of like British foxes coming here throughout the summer.
It's easy to win.
They all got wasted. They all start playing poker just to chill. They may throw away like a few $1,000 US.
Wow.
So it's quite easy. And with offline, some people, they get bored with the lack of action. So when there is not an out of action, they start creating the action, right? And then if you're like calm enough, if you're consistent enough, this is where you can start grabbing easy wins. So
seize the opportunity to win. When you were a kid, what was like the first country or city that you traveled to outside of your home country? Do you remember like what were your emotions?
I think it was Poland, because for someone who lives in Belarus, Poland was probably one of the easiest choices. Everyone was going there, or Vilnius, Lithuania, and what was happening back then, usually go there just to, chill with friends. I think the first time I went abroad, as abroad, because I didn't treat like Ukraine or Russia as abroad. So like Europe, I think it was like probably 14 years old.
Yeah. We have this thing in our country also. we don't count it.
That's really funny, because mentally it still feels like it's just like
you cross the border.
It's like the same set of countries, like the same people, same nation.
And what was the country where you traveled, country or the city, that was like the most different from what you have anticipated to see there, what you were, planning to meet, but it was like the opposite of or different from what you were expecting?
When you go abroad, and especially when you meet a new culture, new people, new architecture, this is where your self-development kind of accelerates. So I'm a big fan of this approach, because I remember when was the first time when I went to like Poland or then Czech Republic or Belgium. This is where I could really say that I was having incremental shifts in my mentality and my routines and everything. So I think probably I cannot really highlight a specific country, but probably like European Union as a whole, because the people here, they're built different, right? In like Belarus, everyone's just like wearing like gray stuff, like as me right now. Everyone is just like, you know, so like unmotivated. You you go in the subway, people like, oh my God, you know, I hate my life, you know, all that stuff. It's gray outside. And if you go to other countries, you see that people, they're happy, they're smiling, they're cheering for you, they're talking with you. This never happened in your, you know, home country, like when I was in Belarus. When, you know, I started, you know, talking with people from other countries about business, I was ready. Because if this could have happened before, I was like, you know, the same like closed nerd kid from Belarus, not being able to like communicate properly. And I think, that was the biggest thing I got from it.
What about Africa? You have like, this is maybe one of the most exotic places you have been to. Was it exactly how you expected the country, like those cities to see, or was it different?
Africa probably hit me hardest of all the places which I visited ever. And I think it was like completely different from what I was expecting in a bad way. There was like situations where you might go, you know, on the street, and then just like a random guy from the restaurant nearby says, please come on in, because someone, you know, the car is coming and they might hit you, you know, this stuff like that.
It's in Cape Town or like?
It was Johannesburg, because Cape Town is a little bit safer, but Johannesburg is like a proper mess. Yeah, it's like a proper mess.
Gotcha. What do you think? Is it really important to be hands-on in those locations in order to understand how to build a product for those markets, or it's not a must? Like you can still target countries where you have not been, where like you don't even, you know, realize in which part of the world those countries are, but still you create a product that can really serve there and be considered as localized.
I'm a fan of super localized products, and you know, by product I'm kind of putting like two pieces on the side: customized and localized service, and customized and localized product. By service, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, payments, customer service, like VIP, like everything which is beyond the product. The very first time I landed, I jumped in the taxi. I started talking with the taxi guy about what is his favorite football team, is he doing like sports betting or not, if yes, then, you know, which markets, which tournaments, where he finds bookmakers companies, etc. So every time I'm in there, and even if the guy, he doesn't speak English, I will just put a translate and then I will start chatting with him. It's a free customer research, right? You just need to be fast enough just to be able to ask the right questions, because, you know, the trip might be like 10-15 minutes, so you need to be very fast in, you know, asking the right questions, coming up with the right set of angles. I remember still, like when I was in Warsaw, I think after I left Party Match, and then I was talking with someone about, you know, Party Match on the phone, and the taxi driver was like, oh, Party Match. I was like, yeah. So he's like, you know, oh, I played on Party Match, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes you know, you might come up with a very interesting set of data from the most unexpected angle, right? Ask as many questions as possible. Don't be afraid to ask stupid questions, the most stupid questions. I mean, even like asking, how much you're losing per month? Well, I mean, what's going to happen if you ask the question like that? The worst case scenario is the person will tell you like, fuck off. Don't ask me questions like this. That's it.
Exactly. You have been investing in many companies recently. Do you keep doing it right now, or you stopped investing and you concentrated on the operations?
I think I accidentally got into it, right? A friend of mine, Jeffrey, he was the one who said, like, you know, you have such a great network of people around you, like a great set of companies. You know, I've done my exit from Party Match, I had some money to invest. And then he was like, why don't you just go and try? You know, you got such a great network, you can reach out to people, you can ask them whether, you know, you got some special expertise you can bring on board. So it was an easy ride, because everyone whom I reached out pretty much immediately said yes. And some combinations where they might not be willing to, you know, sell equity, or they didn't need any money at that point of time, they might come up with something, okay, you will bring us guaranteed uplift of our business, and then you get equity as the result. And then, I was doing it for like probably 2 years almost. At some point I decided, okay, either I want to do this like properly and scale it, or should I stop? The family office thing, we kind of parked it right now. I think we got more than 12 companies. It's like a mix of affiliation, technologies like Blask, for example. And then we got another thing which is coming up very soon with the announcement. This is the time to kind of give the very first mention to this company ever. We've built a company called AffPapa, the most impactful, the smartest like investors in the iGaming joined me as the partners and general partners of this whole thing. You know, we've allocated some capital. I think we've invested in 5 companies right now, probably like 3 or 4 in the pipeline. I never been, more excited and more grateful just being in the same company with 2 of the OGs from our niche. Every day for me, every call is like a proper mini MBA. I'm learning a lot, and I still have no clue how do I get there, right? Because 2 years of me investing just like as the individual now led me into this. Yeah, and the focus is like media companies. How do we amplify the growth? How do we come up with some new monetization angles?
And what's the difference of you investing in this, projects like Already Media or, some other small affiliates or big ones, and, investing with group of these OGs, as you mentioned? What the difference of the approach?
The size of the deals, because my average check was quite small, and now with these 2 people, I'm like looking at some of the opportunities, and they're like, okay, we need to put like 7 mil here. It's like, what the fuck? So that's a lot, right? And in some cases, we need to like go and seek for LPs to someone else's money to come in on board. The second thing is like accountability, because when I'm just myself, I'm like, okay, maybe I will just do it or not do it, but now it's like it's impossible.
They are breathing on your neck.
Yeah,
so
of course I got into such an amazing company with them, and now I'm like super accountable. It changed many perspectives on how I look in companies, investment opportunities. How do we evaluate these opportunities? Because I was quite reckless, and I think I burned quite a decent amount of cash by not doing like a proper research, due diligence, or even like thinking about the possible plans of the business growth. Because like I've invested into like a few pre-seed startup companies, and then after 2 months they just got closed, right? Thing number 3 is like the deals which I would have never, got access to myself.
Yeah, they wouldn't knock your door otherwise,
exactly.
or you wouldn't know the opportunity.
Yeah.
When you are investing in a project, is it a must for you to see a role of yourself in the project, or the project should become successful no matter how much you are involved in them yourself? How do you choose the project?
Yeah, I think it's mandatory to be involved, because if you just want to like invest somewhere and just passively wait for the uplift, maybe you should just go and invest in Bitcoin. So I think, I had this like funny conversation with a friend. I've been investing in companies, like using my capital and my knowledge to multiply it, but he was just put it in Bitcoin. And if I were putting in Bitcoin myself against where I'm at right now, I would have lost, right? So it's a great example of just a set of experience, knowledge, connections, and everything, plus capital to be invested into. I don't want to be like a passive guy coming on board. So for example, network is the easiest one. If it's an affiliate business, how do we kind of leverage my network and connections to like go to new markets, reach more operators, etc. How do we leverage my markets research data from Blask to understand the market kind of dynamics, which markets to enter, things like this. So because I think what's really cool, and I studied this from guys from Yola, and Tim Heath is like like a big icon for me, is like when you really want to build an ecosystem where all these companies, they kind of connected one with another, you really need to think like ecosystemly. So you need to understand, okay, so this particular company I invest, how do I immediately bring that network effect into play? How do I, take, like, for example, Blask or Already Media or some other companies, I go out and just, make them work together. So I think it's been a vision since day one, not just like handpick the projects, but just to figure out how do they make click together.
Do you have like a name for your role in these companies? Like, who are you when it comes to joining, making decisions, or maybe mentoring the leaders in those teams? Like, what's your role in there?
So in some companies, this might be like a jack of all trades, where I'm pretty much doing anything I could. And with some companies, if they're very early on, this could be a lot of my time invested in these companies. And this is why it has to be a linear involvement, because I cannot be involved, with too many companies at the same time. With some companies, this might be, just like a plug and play once per month where they need help. I call myself a lot, like a mix of investment firm and a managing group, where we help to manage if it's needed, or we invest when it's needed, we mentor when it's needed, when we advise when it's needed. And sometimes for some people, a very interesting thing we've come up with is like not many affiliate companies in our niche understand if there is an end game. Should this be an end game or should this be like a cash cow? So we kind of come up with a very interesting view on things and try to find, a meaningful founders. Whether they should be, just, making money or whether they should be looking for a sell in like 2 to 3 years.
Do you dedicate the same amount of time to already media or like other, earlier projects, or you have to sacrifice it on the new ones? Do you find any risks there of you not to, paying enough attention to what is required already?
Every company has like a different phase or stage of its market development. This could be a startup or, growth stage or traction stage, early traction stage, like pre-revenue, etc. So there are multiple phases. And based on the phase and me looking at the company, at a different point of time, a different set of involvement is needed. With Already Media, it's a great case because when I joined them, there was like a dedicated need for me to kind of re-establish the company. They were making a lot of money, but they wanted to understand, okay, where is the next big growth opportunity for them? Is this entering new markets? Is this like new, gambling verticals? Is this a new monetization opportunities? So I had to kind of rebuild the strategy. I had to, hire a full new C-level team from scratch and, did a lot of things just to establish the foundation for the growth. With me just, accomplishing the very first phase, there was like a certain set of benchmarks and KPIs on how we evaluate whether the first phase was a success or not, whether the new strategy is paying its dividends, whether the new kind of markets we've entered, they're being established and they're growing and now they're making revenue. And then what happened is, the CEO of the company, Alina, she's became like a mentee of mine, and right now we have like a weekly calls with her, like where we just go through multiple topics. She's coming up with this like a set of questions. I'm helping her on a bunch of things. Then I have like quarterly boards. And if I need it, I'm being plugged in immediately, right? Any calls, any like documents review, strategic documents review, any introductions. So I'm always plugged in. And the demand business has right now, if I see that it's allowing to add a new business, I'm gonna do it. If I'm seeing that, this company is gonna suffer because of the lack of my attention, I'm not gonna go for it. There's been a movie, I think it's called Yes Man, where the guy, the Jim Carrey's character was always saying yes. I became a no man.
Exactly.
When I became relentless with my time. If someone is asking me like, you wanna jump on the call and have a chat about something? I'm like, okay, first of all, what is the agenda? What do you want to chat about, and can we do it in just like one Telegram message? If the answer is yes, let's do it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And the businesses which are coming in and asking questions like, let's do something together. We need your money. We need your time. We want to give you equity for free. I'm skipping it because I don't have time for it, and I don't want to sacrifice the quality. And I don't want to spread myself too thin in like hundreds of opportunities. So I'd rather, make sure that I focus on the right people, on the right businesses, and together we're building great companies.
From the leader's perspective, in all your teams, you have, people that you trust, so that the companies are running autonomously on their own, and from time to time you are checking. If you feel that they're like, there is some kind of a mismanagement, or there is underperformance, and there is an issue with the leaders. What's your take on that? You try to mentor, you try to look for a better fit for that role. How do you usually act like when you see there is a problem in one of the companies?
Yeah, I'm the first to like raise the red flag if something goes wrong. I'm the first one to reach out to founders and say like, hey guys, we need to start doing something about it. In some companies you might be looking at the P&L and the payroll specifically, and you figured out, okay, these guys, they hired like 100 extra people because they thought that it's needed because the company was growing and they were making a lot of money. So I want to be that bad guy who's saying we need to start sucking people right now. I want to be the one who's like giving them an insight of what might be going right or wrong. What is happening right now, I see that the founders, they really trust me and my insights, especially when I'm getting access to like so many companies at the same time, and they feel like, okay, if he knows that other companies are doing this, we're more comfortable in like firing people, cutting down the costs and monetization opportunities. So if they trust me enough to get me on board and make me a shareholder, then they should be trusting me even longer and even more deeper with me coming up with all the these insights.
Yeah, and having your involvement in all these different companies, this I believe gives you an angle and advantage of realizing that for example, if there is an issue within one of your projects, that the issue is not the mismanagement, but the issue is just the time and the global changes that appeared around.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm blessed with being able to work with so many amazing people and founders that I'm always getting like a very interesting perspective on certain things in the industry right now, like in this particular moment of time, and I can immediately jump on the call with some of the biggest minds in the iGaming just to see whether are we doing something wrong or whether it's a niche feeling very fragile right now.
How do you measure and how do you find out that some of the projects need fundamental changes, like changes of the direction overall? And probably these are the toughest changes usually, because then it means that the strategy that you were sticking to right at that moment are totally wrong and you have to change everything literally. How do you find those in your projects, the projects where you have invested in, and how do you apply those changes? Is it like really hard, or you have a technique for doing that already?
Yeah, I think the easiest indicator is usually revenue. So if the revenue is either falling down or stagnant for like maybe 3-4 months, this is where we need to start paying attention to the business, like even more than before, and start digging into like very basic things to understand where something might be going wrong. So revenue is probably the easiest. The second is a little bit more complex, but it's like closely tied to the fact that revenue might not be growing, is employees. So sometimes people, they get exhausted. Sometimes people, they lose motivation. Sometimes people might be just feeling that they're running in the same circles again and again, and you really need to kind of give them a new angle and change the narrative a little bit. So I think these two the most critical ones. And then like I think I mentioned before that founders, they still, not me or none of my partners, they need to be the ones involved with the business day to day. We could be the ones coming up and saying, okay, something goes wrong. Let's try to identify what goes wrong. Let's do the proper audit. Audit of every single possible area of the business. One of my key strengths is like finding a new commercial opportunities. What might be something with traffic you're not doing yet, which might give you like the easiest way on how to add a little bit of a revenue. What could be the thing your business is not looking at right now? Like what is the lowest hanging fruits you have around yourself? So this is my like key background. Some of the businesses we had, I think the biggest one we had was 12x in 6 months, where just going in there, just seeing, okay, you guys are not doing like these 11 things. And then, each one of them, they will give you like 12x immediately. So this is the thing. But when something goes wrong, this is where, you really need to pay a lot of attention to a lot of small details. Because just imagine, the business might be there for like 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. The founders might, even lost their touch and sense of the business at all. And, me coming on board to see their child and then saying something about the child which might be wrong, it's very hard for me to even come up with some hard truths, and for them to even say that, okay, that was wrong, and we were wrong, and people, they don't like to be wrong. So this is a very complicated thing. I think I'm a very honest person, but at the same time I hate hurting people. So this is where, for me, it was very painful to, start telling the truth, which will then be hurting people. But now I feel like, completely all right. And, sometimes I'm even coming to founder and saying, guys, if you want me to be the one, going out there and saying, hard truths about, hard things, I'm up for it.
Yeah, and this is like, you are standing across the street and you have a better angle and better view on the things which they stopped seeing from inside, right?
Yeah.
And in your blog, I remember you have written something about making decisions that you, like when is the right time to make this critical decisions, important decisions that if you are like in a rush, it gives you the autonomous kind of an answer, which in some cases can be wrong, but it's the safest, right? How do you plan your like day or your routine in order to go through all the projects, or like from time to time when touching those projects, and be able to, you know, decide in this manner, in the same way as you know, found it like working out?
Yeah, I remember I was talking with one of my friends, actually also like one of the OGs of investment, Oliver Schultz from Growth Leads. I was asking him about the same thing, because for me, he's like the icon who does like 200x more than I do, right? And he said he prioritizes based on the revenue impact. So let's say you got this business and this particular issue or this particular opportunity, and then you need to evaluate them from the possible revenue optimization or growth point of view. I'm a little bit different, because I'm judging it from the effort perspective, like how much time I need to invest, how fast the business value will be delivered, and then obviously the revenue. In my case, you know, time is the biggest constraint. You know, how much time right now, or in the plane, or while I'm running, or in the taxi, I could be allocating to one particular thing, and then just, you know, generate the immediate impact. So if you think about the framework, which is called getting things done, it's about the effort, about the place, and obviously the outcome as well at the same time. So I'm trying to prioritize all of this. I'm still like one of the biggest bottlenecks in the world, because it's impossible to do everything, and I'm still being overwhelmed, but at least I can prioritize within that chaos, having like inbox with like tens of hundreds of items probably, but at the same time, you know, at least I feel relief when it comes down to decision-making process. It's a snap call when I'm coming down to like, you know, whether I need to prioritize that thing or like another thing. So I don't think there is like a magic pill here. You need to be really understanding your capabilities as the human being, and what kind of resource you can leverage, because, you know, for me it's like a relentless constant work. You know, I'm working like 24/7, apart from the time I'm not sleeping or playing paddle. So you know, the rest of the time I just work, and you know, not many people can really sacrifice their time to be able to kind of, you know, do so many things. I don't know if I will ever be able to stop, you know, operating in the same mode, and what's going to happen if, you know, I'm going to be, you know, completely free. Maybe I will try to come up with something new. So
yeah, absolutely. Growing all these companies, investing in them, you know, doing your ventures, is this itself like your end goal, or this is a tool to achieve your goal, like, you know, making the revenues and succeeding with all the companies? This is what's like the point, or there is another point far beyond that you have to achieve at the end, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe whether it's financial or just, you know, just to satisfy yourself for this achievement. So.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I'm still kind of searching. I think I'm at that point of my career where, you know, I enjoy working with people, I enjoy helping people, I enjoy building companies, and I think, you know, that was probably Naval Ravikant who said that thing where, you know, you just work in one company, you can, you know, just like use your knowledge and, you know, leverage into one company. Working with 10 companies, you just like multiply, you know, your leverage and being able to generate more impact. In my case, I think, you know, the last 2 years and this whole fund idea worked perfectly well, because I was able to multiply my know-how and immediately inject it into like the people.
All the projects.
Yes, exactly. But what's coming next, I think this is where I don't have the answer yet, but like as I said, you know, we're looking at build, you know, $1 billion company from one of the companies we have right now in portfolio. And maybe it's going to be the operator. Maybe it's going to be Blask, who is like, you know, the SaaS AI-driven research tool. You know, there are so many angles, and I don't know where it's going to be coming from. But you know, I'm constantly searching, and I don't think I have the answer now. I enjoy the ride first and foremost, right? And I enjoy the ride with good people, enjoying the fact that we're building great companies. Because, you know, I think the mentality was since day one that, you know, I'm a punk and a rebel spirit by nature, and I want to be with the same people who, you know, are here. Like, let's say if you're an affiliate company, but you're an affiliate company with a twist, that's what I like. You know, I don't want to be, you know, the next affiliate company. I want to be the next greatest affiliate company who does things in the right way.
It's very reflective on your new project, Menace. We have already seen your new approach, not traditional at all, of how to generate traffic, using the new channels, the methods, and just following the right trends, not always staying behind, trying the old methods and the things that used to work 100% if you do it right, but rather experimenting with new things. Maybe it can be unsuccessful, but so far, I mean, even from what I've seen personally, I can tell that it's another level from what I've seen in the industry, and this is sincere. So it's it's not you are my friend, I want to please you, but it's really true. And coming back to the investment part, as we have discussed, the projects that you are involved in, and probably maybe you have some on the table you are considering. Let's say there is a young person in the industry, or not so young, but who has an idea, who has a passion, who has some strong story to tell, and they need someone like you to support them. What would you recommend to these people to do in order to knock your door and have an opportunity at least to share their idea and share the project they would like to work with you on?
Usually I recommend Telegram, because this is where it's the easiest to control the messaging, because this is where I don't get too much spam. LinkedIn, it's so hard to kind of keep a track on it. Probably 80% of them is like PR, backlinks, payment providers, like all that stuff, right? Adarziv sometimes is messaging you as well, so it's very hard to keep on track with great stuff. So it's impossible to cut through the noise. But yeah, Telegram is where I'm at, and I usually try to say that I try to reply to every single human being, but this might take a while. So if I'm not replying, after a day or two, just give it like 3, and then maybe I will come back. It's not about me even being able to give you like a proper advice, but maybe I will just being able to drop you like a quick voice note, just to give you my honest opinion on things you're doing right now.
What would you recommend, like, as a shortcut?
No calls. So that's recommendation number 1. So just keep it very brief. Hey, I'm someone doing something, just very quick, no fluff, just bullet points. If you can send 1-pager, that's the best, right? Give a little bit of intro in Telegram message, about your past, like why you came to this specific point of time with this specific idea, and then that's pretty much it. Because the faster I can digest the information, the faster and the easier it's going to be for me to come back. Because sometimes I remember chatting with people, they're sending you like 3 voice notes, 8, 12, 15 minutes each, and then you're like, okay, maybe I will listen to this in the plane one day, because like as I mentioned, I stick to context, right? When I'm at my laptop, I want to be fast, like quickly glance into messages, emails and everything. I don't want to listen like 30 minutes of voice notes.
Yeah, also there are some people that try to detain and delay sending the final pitch because they think the idea is so unique that first they have to warm you up and then share it.
Yeah, this also happens a lot.
Thank you very much for today's interview. It was a pleasure for me as a person, first of all, and I'm sure this was very insightful for our audience. So now you guys know how to knock the door of Dmitry, and he's very approachable, he's very smart, and I'm sure like even if there is a no or negative answer, you will still get a reply from him. Thank you very much for your time, brother.
It means a lot. Thank you so much for having me.